sisters, it's me, Talene, your PCOS registered dietitian. Today, I'm gonna answer some of your questions. I was going through comments and DMs and just seeing some of the frequently asked questions by sisters, and I wanna answer them on this YouTube video, clear some air, and provide some clarity for you on your PCOS weight loss journey. So let's get right into it. The first question is from Madeline from Instagram. She says, "Hi there, I keep seeing these posts where people are losing around 35 pounds. Curious, how long is it taking people of being gluten and dairy free to see these results?" What a great question. So losing weight with PCOS, from my experience, varies from person to person. Sometimes sisters as in women with PCOS, see weight loss results immediately after 1 week, maybe losing 3-4 pounds the first week they get started because they're really targeting their inflammation and insulin levels and reducing water retention, which is great. Then there are some people who don't lose any weight for a couple of weeks, but they find that they feel less bloated, their skin is clearing up, other symptoms are improving, and those are excellent signs of progress. And the PCOS weight loss aspect may come later down the line. And what you can do is layer on different PCOS weight loss tips that I give you from the sisterhood or from Instagram and start seeing those results as you go. The sisterhood is our membership app where we help women with PCOS lose weight and manage their symptoms, gluten and dairy free. So I have lots of recipes on there that you can search through to help you on your gluten and dairy free journey. All right, the next question is from Caitlin from Instagram. She says, "Can reducing gluten intake also have benefits, or is it only effective when you cut it out completely?" That's a great question as well. Now, for some people, they find that they are gluten intolerant, but if they have a bite or two, it doesn't make a big difference. Maybe they can even have a meal with gluten in it, and it's not gonna make a huge difference in their symptoms the next day. And then there are other people who do see symptoms immediately, are super bloated, and it just wasn't worth it. And for me, that's definitely with dairy. If I have dairy, for sure the next day I have a cystic acne on my face somewhere. If it's gluten, I'm a little bloated. Maybe I'll have digestive issues if I have too much, but if I have a bite, it'll be fine. But I know if I have a bite of dairy, the skin's breaking out. That's a risk I take if I want to have a little bit. And you have to understand how much your body can tolerate and how much you're willing to have once you realize that you're gluten and dairy sensitive. Because PCOS is like a long-term thing. We're gonna have it for the rest of our lives. And the way we manage it needs to be sustainable to us, needs to make us feel good, empowered about our decisions, about what we do and put into our bodies and how we make ourselves feel better with PCOS and manage our symptoms. So whatever you decide to do, you want it to be something sustainable that helps your symptoms and also makes you happy. And whether that's going gluten and dairy free 80% or 100%, it's up to you. All right, the next question. That's 3 food groups that you're cutting out. Your body needs all 3 of these. And she's referring to gluten, dairy, and sugar, because I did a post about how all 3 of those can be very inflammatory and triggering for PCOS women and our symptoms like insulin resistance, cravings, things like that. So gluten, dairy, sugar are not food groups. They are foods that are in food groups, but they're not food groups. A food group is like grains, all grains. When you go gluten-free, you're not cutting out all your grains. You're just cutting out the gluten-containing grains. You can still have gluten-free grains. There's quinoa, there's buckwheat, there's millet. There are so many different gluten-free options that are grains that you can replace gluten with and get lots of B vitamins and nutrients from. And then there's dairy. Dairy is not a food group, it's a fat. It can be healthy for some people and it can be triggering for others. And so what you can do is replace dairy with other fats like hummus or avocado or almond butter, something that's satisfying and filling just like dairy is, but is actually good for your PCOS symptoms. So when you decide to go gluten and dairy free, you don't want to just cut out major food groups like all grains or all fats. But what you can do is swap dairy for other healthy fats and swap gluten for other healthy grains and still sustain your lifestyle and feel good when you're eating a meal. So like I mentioned earlier, when you join us in the sisterhood, we have lots of recipes. And one of my favorites are the bowls, the delicious bowls. Last night I just ate one. It was like a Asian inspired steak with pear salad with like this delicious like soy sauce sesame oil dressing and a little bit of rice on the side. I didn't completely cut out grains, but I had a gluten-free grain, which was the rice. And I didn't completely cut out healthy fats because I had that delicious dressing and some avocado in my salad. So instead of dairy, instead of gluten, I made myself a meal that was absolutely delicious, well balanced, and still helping my PCOS symptoms. So enough about that, because I can go on for days about gluten and dairy. So here's a comment from a sister, Gabrielle. She commented this on YouTube. She says, "Hi there, I thought one of the symptoms to be diagnosed was high testosterone." So here's the thing. Sometimes when you're diagnosed with PCOS, your blood work won't reflect your symptoms. You'll literally have testosterone within normal range and your doctor will be like, well, your lab work is fine. Meanwhile, you have facial hair, acne, mood swings, hair loss, all the signs of high testosterone. And then we're told our lab work says we're fine. This happens to a lot of women. It does not mean everything is fine. If you have signs and symptoms of high testosterone, then you are sensitive to testosterone and it's high for your body. So whether or not you fit within this huge range that conventional medicine uses doesn't necessarily matter. If you have the symptoms, these are signs of high testosterone. And that's why I really suggest seeing a naturopathic doctor, because naturopathic doctors deep dive into your blood work, look at specific ranges for your age and your symptoms and what you're going through as a PCOS woman, and give you advice based on that, which is much more specialized than general testing. All right, let's move on to the next question. Oh, this one's good. This one was from a sticker, a question sticker.
They're all good questions. How dare you?
This one involves you.
What?
It's from a question sticker from the Instagram stories. She says, did Sirak know what was PCOS and its challenges before meeting Tallene? So Sirak didn't know about PCOS necessarily until I explained to him what was going on, but he did know about inflammation. He was already eating gluten-free bread and dairy-free cream cheese. He was on board. I got lucky. By the way, if you don't know who Sirak is my husband and the PCOS personal trainer in our membership app, the Sisterhood. He designs all of the PCOS-friendly workouts, and with his workouts and my recipes, lots of women with PCOS lose weight and manage their symptoms.
Speaking of the devil, so just a little background into how we met. When we first met, we were on our first date, and during the first date, Tallene, like as we were eating, we just started dinner, appetizers, whatever, and Tallene says to me, by the way, I'm gluten and dairy free. And that piqued my interest because at the time, I was really into like a lot of different health podcasts, and that was when there was a lot of research studies from Harvard and from these different doctors on these podcasts. They were talking about gluten. So I was really like into that, as well as dairy. And so when she said that, I was like, ooh. Check mark that. And then later on, I found out about her PCOS, which I didn't know about beforehand. Match made in heaven, as what I would say.
We answered the question, moving right along. Next question.
Next!
Shaifa Lee on Instagram says, what's your stand on alcohol? So, okay, I read this book. It's called PCOS SOS. It's like my Bible, okay? I flip through it, I read a random page, I get inspired, I put it back. You don't need to start from the beginning and end at the end. You can just like flip through PCOS SOS. And the author was actually one of my doctors, Dr. Phyllis Gersh. She was great. She's a gynecologist, but she also studied functional medicine. So she like marries the two and she treats you. So anyways, she wrote that book, and in the book she says, I hope I'm quoting this correctly, but she says, stay away from alcohol like it's the plague.
Yeah.
Like it's the plague, in my opinion, is a little too dramatic because, like a glass every once in a while shouldn't be an issue. But I can see where she's coming from because our liver health with PCOS is so important. A lot of women struggle with fatty liver. And this is where if you're insulin resistant, a lot of fat accumulates in the midsection, leading to belly fat, leading to fatty liver, where the fat accumulates around your liver and other organs. And this is quite awful for us PCOS women if it continues unmanaged. Now, the thing is, you can manage it and you can reverse it and you can manage your insulin resistance and not struggle with fatty liver. And actually, I believe tolerate a glass or two alcohol every once in a while. But I would not suggest having alcohol every night. I know that if you Google it, they say a glass a day or a glass or two a day for women is okay. I don't suggest it for PCOS women. Personally, I have maybe one glass every couple weeks, once a month, whatever. I don't get joy from things that make me feel like I'm not managing my PCOS well. And if, a night out drinking every once in a while can be so fun and that's great, but doing it too often will make me feel like, my symptoms are not being managed. So that's my personal choice. There's a lot you can do to manage PCOS. If you choose to have a glass every weekend, if that makes you feel okay and your symptoms are managed, you're still losing weight, you're not insulin resistant, I can understand where you're coming from. It's a personal choice, but she does say avoid alcohol like the plague. All right, next. Jenny from Instagram says, what multivitamin do you recommend? Funny you should ask, because we recently launched our supplement line and it includes a multivitamin designed for PCOS women. Your multivitamin should have a complement of vitamin D, calcium, magnesium, B complex vitamins, zinc, and all of these work synergistically to help plug nutrient gaps that affect our PCOS weight loss ability and also our metabolic health. So I think that a multivitamin for PCOS women is essential. It's crucial because just having PCOS alone can strip you of these nutrients due to having inflammation. Having PCOS technically means you have lots of chronic inflammation, and having that will strip your body of the nutrients that I just listed. Taking birth control, taking metformin, all of these things can affect your ability to absorb these important nutrients for PCOS weight loss. So when we formulated our multivitamin and had it third-party tested to prove that what's on the label is in the supplement itself, we made sure that it included the things that are missing in PCOS women that are most commonly found to be missing due to having inflammation and nutrient deficiencies. Next on the list, which supplement do you think is the best for swollen calves and faces? Okay, if you feel like your legs are swollen and feet are swollen and your face feels swollen and your hands feel swollen, this is a sign that you are having a lot of water retention. Water retention happens when you have insulin resistance, lots of inflammation, high insulin levels essentially. And the things you can do are you can try Inositol, which is an excellent supplement if you struggle with insulin resistance. I've talked about it in almost every video on YouTube, but basically it has a 40-to-1 ratio of Mayo and D-Chiro Inositol, which has shown to help with all symptoms of PCOS and with insulin resistance. And so when you take Inositol, it almost instantly helps with your cravings. And over a 3-month period, it can really help with egg quality, getting your period regulated, ovulation. I've included a 15% off code in the description. It's my favorite supplement for PCOS, but let me just continue about the swelling. So it doesn't end with supplements, because if the foods you're eating are inflammatory, then every time you eat them, you're gonna feel swollen. And some sisters, women with PCOS, feel like being bloated and swollen is just their baseline. They're just so used to it after years and years of feeling this way that it's just like how they feel. And it does not need to be that way. If you try cutting out gluten and dairy for at least 30 days, see how you feel. Add gluten and dairy back in after the 30 days and see if your swelling doesn't come back. Because I can almost guarantee you, if those are inflammatory foods for you and you feel swollen and puffy and water retention all the time, cutting them out can really help. And we hope you do that in the sisterhood as well. We have lots of recipes and resources. All right, next question. How do you give up cheese? Burnout says on Instagram in a comment. The truth is, that the New York Times came out with an article that stated that cheese can be as addicting as drugs. That's right, because cheese has something called casein in it. Casein turns to casomorphine, it goes through your brain's blood-brain barrier, and it plays on the opiate receptors of your brain, making you feel addicted to cheese as if you were addicted to opiates. So I get so many comments of people feeling like they're addicted to cheese. They can't imagine going dairy-free. What a concept. No, it can't be. Once you understand what's going on physiologically, like inside your blood and your body, it's like, what the heck? Like, I don't even want cheese anymore, right? Like, what is that? There was a whole article on the New York Times about how cheese can be addicting. So if you feel that addiction, that craving towards cheese, just understand that it is as addicting as opiates. And when you cut it out, you can reduce inflammation, reduce insulin levels. It can help you manage PCOS. So trying it for 30 days just to see if it's helping your symptoms is ideal. Next question, what about sweeteners like stevia? Well, stevia is a sweetener, so is monk fruit. There are so many that are like hundreds of times more sweet than sugar, tricking your body into thinking you're eating something super sweet. So everyone's like, it's fine, my blood sugar is not gonna go up. It's an artificial sweetener or a natural sweetener. Why should it matter, right? Well, because for PCOS women, it's not just about blood sugar. It's also about insulin levels. Insulin is a hormone that triggers high testosterone in the ovaries and symptoms of PCOS, irregular periods, cravings, moodiness, so on and so forth, right? So your body thinks you're eating something super sweet. Yes, your blood sugar doesn't go up, but you can still have an insulin response and your body can release a bunch of insulin as a result. And this can lead to more and more cravings, right? And higher testosterone and everything I just explained. So no, I don't think it's ideal to have stevia and monk fruit and natural sweeteners like this. And like I mentioned, PCOS SOS, my favorite book ever, talks about how xylitol is actually the only sweetener that's actually good for you. It's not sweeter than sugar. It's like around the same sweetness as sugar. And it's good for your gut health. It's good for your gums. My toothpaste is made of it. It's actually good for you. And you can choose xylitol gum that's like unsweetened, and yeah, like xylitol for the win. So we have lots of delicious dessert recipes in the sisterhood. In fact, I just made chocolate cupcakes that are gluten-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free because I used xylitol to sweeten them. So freaking delicious. And this is the only sweetener that I suggest for PCOS women. And I stand by it. I will stand by it. All right, last but not least, Mansha. She says, I can't sleep the whole night. Give me some suggestions on what I can do for late night cravings every day. That's a great question. So when you have cravings at night, you want to reflect on how you ate throughout the day. So let's say you have like horrible cravings at night, right? Sugar cravings, anything, you just want to eat all night. Well, ask yourself, did you have blood sugar stability throughout the day? Did you eat a high protein breakfast? Did you have lunch or did you skip it and have coffee instead? You know, did you have a snack between lunch and dinner so that you didn't go into dinner super hungry and just starving, right? Because when you're starving right before your meal, you eat this meal and you have this huge spike in insulin as a response because you ate so much because you were starving, right? And if your insulin spikes a lot, then after your meal, it will remain high and cravings will continue and continue and continue. That's why it's not very good to have huge windows of time where you don't eat and then you eat a bunch. So I like to stick to having a high protein breakfast at like 9-ish, a lunch at like 12-ish, a snack around 4-ish, and dinner around 6 or 7-ish. And then I have a good 12-hour window in between my last meal, which was dinner, and breakfast the next day. And that 12-hour window of not eating and fasting and keeping my insulin levels low are key to helping with my insulin resistance the next day as well. So with that being said, you know, there's no like special cure for your cravings at night, like drink this tea or do this thing. It's actually a thing where you have to reflect on what you ate throughout the day and how you got to this point in the first place, right? So it's a process. Don't be hard on yourself. All the tips that I provided in this video, take it one step at a time. And if you need help, you can always join us in the sisterhood, download the app, and check out all of our resources and information, and even chat with me and Sirak in the private Facebook group. Ask us any of your questions, we're there for you. So sisters, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and share it with someone you know who has PCOS so that I can answer their questions too. If you have any more questions I didn't cover, feel free to comment them below. Bye!